Welcome to another freshie, folks. This is Officer Dan and crew hitting you with another quality how-to. This time it's our Z33, 350Z, V35, and G35 front upper camber arms, or FUCAs as you might call them. This box that Zach is casually wiggling may or may not have been sanitized for safety, but it sure is pretty. Pop the lid and this is what you get. Firstly, you get the dust boots, which you may or may not be running, as the bearings are PTFE line, but we wanted to give you options, son. Next are the main bearing inserts, which connect the camber arms to the top of the knuckle. And finally, the part you've all been waiting for, the camber arm itself. These flying V formation arms are fitted with common-sized bearings for ease of replacement, as most of our other arms are as well. Plus, we've added the feature of being able to adjust the front camber whilst on the car. Bonus. You'll also have caster adjustment via the stackable shims we offer as well. Double bonus. We've designed these to be as strong as possible while allowing the most clearance to the chassis. It also comes with this handy-dandy cheat sheet to show how things fit together, and also includes the ever-important torque speckage, so educate yourself, foo. Moving right along to the install section of this here vid, head to the upper nuck and remove the split pin. Then loosen and remove the nut that attaches the OEM camber arm to the nuck. Pop that off and head inwards, young man, and loosen the two bolts on either side of the coilover. Get both of those out of the car, which depending on what spring you have may or may not be a challenge. Get that crappy boomerang out of your life forever and sell it for scrap. Now, let's talk adjustment. We recommend winding these units out to the max safe adjustment and then winding back into where you need them. This will make sure you have a safe thread overlap. We will be measuring from the start of where the locking nut tightens to the body to the inner side of the bearing, be 105 millimeters total, and a max of 41 millimeters, which is made up of the inner sleeve being extended out. Winding these Johnnies into OEM spec, which is where we recommend you start, you'd get an overall length of 90 millimeters, measuring the same way as before, with the inner sleeve hitting 32 millimeters out. Say you don't have fancy tools like a ruler, you can simply rummage through the dumpster and get that arm you boomeranged in there and compare the two just like this. If you're a stancy boy and you need to drop the negative camber like it was hot, this is for you guys. Wind it all the way in as short as possible and measure 46 millimeters in the same fashion as before. This means you get 44 millimeters of negative adjustment compared to OEM, which is around negative 5.5 degrees of camber. In addition, you'll also get around 15 millimeters of positive adjustment again when comparing to OEM, which ends up being around 1 positive degree. Super bonus. Thanks to Nissan, however, there can only be a max of 15 millimeters positive due to chassis clearance issue. Now that you've got your camber set, let me talk to you about the good word of caster. If you were to put on one thick and one thin shim on either side of the bearing, you'd end up with OEM caster. If you were to fit two of the thick boys towards the front and one thin towards the rear, you'd be increasing caster. Do you want to decrease caster? Remove that and put the two thick boys in the rear with the gear and the skinny boy up front. Figure out what you need setup wise and make sure all of the rest match. In our case, this is mostly stock, so we're keeping the OEM caster setting as shown. Now, all that's left is to toss the arm in, get each bolt into its respective hole, then torque both to the specs shown here on this very screen. Head over to the outer arm and install the main bearing insert into the camber arm, then plop it down onto the nuck. Now we've already put a heaping spoonful of Loctite on this little guy, and we highly recommend you do the same. Thread that top bolt down, then install the bottom washer and nut, then secure the top bolt, zap the bottom nut down, then torque that bottom nut down to the specs shown here. Now, support the bottom nut and torque the top bolt shown to these specs as well. Now, being the constantly evolving company that we are, we came up with a simple solution to allow on-car adjustment. Simply insert a hex head into the rear of the adjuster and adjust away, my friend. Just make sure that both sides are done evenly so you don't preload the bearings. Also, while you're there, make sure that they're not cocked to the left or right, but running centrally through normal suspension operation. Now, tighten the lock nuts down as shown and check for any clearance issues. Make sure nothing is hitting anywhere through the full range of suspension operation. And my dudes and dudettes, you are fiending. Enjoy, will ya? This is two dudes, one Aussie, one idiot, living their best lives on the internet for all to see. If you can't install these, please make sure to have a pro do it, as this is only a guide. Reach out to us with any questions. This has been Officer Dan, Johnny Caps, and FUCA Zach with another GKTECH How-To. Peace.